好，有听到哈？那我们就接着我们早上那个第三节的时候，我们已经把课文上完了，对不对？好，那我们后面还有一个那个comprehension practice 那个地方，我们把它做一下，好吧？然后做完之后，我再给你们看 YouTube 的一个3个小小的短短的影片，然后看完之后，我们就差不多可以休息哈。好，那我们来看一下那个，如果你有课本的话，你打开到171页，可以吗？171页哈。好，来那171页呀，So we have 171吗？等一下，好像是170页。好，你打开到170页有一个 graphic organizer 这个地方，它是有2题。那我们先做这2题，好吧？很简单哈，给你大概1分钟的时间看，好吧？然后你把那个170页的1、2题做一下。第一题是比较简单的一个图像的，然后第2题你就照它的时间顺序排一下。好，来，那我们可以来对答案了吗？好，你看第一个，他说我们这个课文啊，它是 A、B、C 哪一个？它是 A do's and don'ts chart，还是 B timeline，还是 C Venn diagram？应该是哪一个？应该很简单，是不是？答案应该是 B，对不对？我们这边的课文它都是用 chronological 这个字。这课的课文啊，so the whole text was written in a chronological order. Chronological order means time order. So the whole text was written in the events, in the time events. 所以它都是时间的顺序哈，所以这个是 chronological order，所以答案是 B。好，那我们来看一下那个第二大题啊，第二大题它是有6个东西，那它6个东西的时间的顺序你要怎么排呢？我找一个人来问好不好？那个李晨瑜，李晨瑜的那个好可爱哦，李晨瑜有在吗？
有。
好好，那你来讲一下第2题的答案好不好？就是6个的顺序。
是不是有一个没有？没有。有，也是。
对，这6个。
5、6、1、4、2、3吗？
Okay, thank you. So the time order is 5, 6, 1, 4, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. 好，谢谢。好，来，那我们这边这一页完成，那我们就接下来看171页。171页还有4题的选择题，那我们一起来做，可以吗？好，Number 1, what is the second paragraph mainly about？它是一个 general understanding 的 question，所以 What is the second paragraph mainly about？第2段应该是 下午再回想一下第二段，就是应该是猪 What the Women's Day Off was about and its impact，所以第二段是猪哈。好，那第二题呢？When was the world's first female president elected？在某一页的最上面那边有没有？那个应该是 B1980，哈，1980。好，然后第三题呢？Which of the following statements about Iceland is not true？好，那你看一下这一题哦。第三题跟第四题，我请同学回答，好不好？好，那第三题我来找一个，可以吗？15。Okay, is number 15 here? 15号有没有在？15号，15号有在吗？有没有？15号没有。好，那我再一次哦。Okay, number 3 is number 3 here? 3号有在吗？
在。
好，三号是羽凡，好，羽凡，那你来讲一下第三题跟第四题的答案，好不好？第三题是
我可以看一下荧幕。
好 ，OK。
课文。
好，好，等一下哦。这个这个第三题跟第四题，第三跟第四。
猪吗？
它是 not true 哦，猪是对的，
哦，
所以应该是
C 吗？
对 C，它没有 complete equality 哈、它有一个地方有讲到什么 despite 什么 having 什么什么，然后 the country continues to 然后什么 fairer society 有没有？那个地方就跟你讲说，其实它没有完全的，就是都平等哈、OK，so the answer is C。OK，然后再来第四题呢？第四题这个。他有讲到有可能会罚钱的是在哪里？我现在要再重新教一
我吗？还是
对
我
对。
B 吗？
对 B 没错哈、就是这个课的课文，所以要有点像同工同酬这样子哈、好，那这个就是我们的课文的部分。那你看一下课文有没有问题，好不好？就是课本的部分啦，课本的部分有没有？好，那如果没有问题的话，那我们就来看3个小小的影片，然后当做结束，好不好？好，那我现在应该是可以，我看哦，如果等一下，如果这样，单一分页，不对，我应该是要单个视窗。 一下，所以我一定要用 Chrome 开。好，那你们等我一下。
Valuable jobs. Earned income and wages for Iceland is
好，等我一下哦。
Gender pay gap.
.好，来分享这个。好，这样子应该有看到哈。来，我播一下，然后你看一下有没有声音哦。
Last year, women across Iceland left work at 2:38 in the afternoon and took to the streets. They were protesting against the gender pay gap. Women there.
等一下，有声音。
那应该是可能麦克风要关掉。
哦，我的麦克风要关掉，谢谢。
有回音。
好好。
Last year, women across Iceland left work at 2:38 in the afternoon and took to the streets. They were protesting against the gender pay gap. Women there earn on average nearly 30% less than men. So they took 30% off their day and left work early. But now that could all change, as Iceland has become the first place in the world to force companies to give out equal pay by law. The gender pay gap is a global problem. On average around the world, women are paid just over half as much as men. There are lots of reasons for this. Women often do jobs that are less well paid, such as teaching or caring for the elderly. They may work part-time or take time off to have children. But even when they're doing similar jobs, men still get paid more. This is true even in Iceland, which is ranked as the best place in the world for gender equality. Here, men doing similar jobs for the same hours take home almost 6% more money. So the government has brought in a set of guidelines called the Equal Pay Standard. This is how it works. Every job within a company is analysed. The bosses calculate how demanding and valuable each role is by looking at things like education, physical strain, mental stress, responsibility, and each job then has a score. If there are two people doing jobs with the same score but not the same pay, then the employer has got to fix this, usually by giving the lower paid one a pay rise. So does this raise women's pay to match men's? It's been piloted at Iceland's customs office. Auther is a statistics analyst and Gudmundur is a legal advisor. Auther was being paid less than Gudmundur. Then they did the review. It found that their different jobs were of equal value to the company. So Auther got a pay rise to match Gudmundur.
In my case, a man would have noticed it sooner. He would have been more aware of his wages. I was just kind of happy it paid all my bills.
People were pleased. This is the way it should be done. We should be paid equally.
In all, 10% of staff at the customs office received a pay rise. Most of them were women, but 1% were men.
We have generally a more happy workforce, knowing that their salary system is something they can trust, and in our recruitment process it's going to help us a lot as well, because now we are an employer that have a certification that we are paying equal wages for equal jobs.
From January, the government will force companies to implement the equal pay standard. If they reduce their gender pay gap, they can have this nice logo. But companies that don't will be fined. Not everyone's happy. Some Icelanders think by making it mandatory, it's going to create layers of bureaucracy. And while it won't end the gender pay gap entirely, more men still do better paid jobs. Others thinks the standard is a big step forward.
This is a really good tool to use because then you have transparency and you have paperwork. They can't say, I'm just going to pay this man this much and I'm going to pay this woman a little bit less and expect them to do the same job.
好，刚才是有听到声音，有看到荧幕，那样是 OK 的哈。好，那你看 OK 好，谢谢。所以你看刚才那个，就是你就可以在我们课本它有的东西其实没有讲得很清楚。那刚才那个影片，它就把它讲得再更清楚一些。那它里面其实有一些单字啊，因为它都有给你字幕，所以它有一些单字。所以如果你有兴趣，你想要把那些单字查一下，比如说他刚才讲的什么是 mandatory， 什么是 bureaucracy。什么是 transparency 这种比较难一点的单字，超过我们可能高中的范围的字，你可以把它查一查哈，我就不在这边多讲了，因为那个就是你可以再自己额外再听一遍，然后你可以再查的哈。所以你只要到 YouTube 里面去搜寻，看刚才那个影片是什么？刚才那个影片是叫做How Iceland is Fighting the Gender Pay Gap。那个地方哈，它是一个 BBC 的 stories， 所以你只要上网去 YouTube 里面去搜寻，就可以找到那个影片。好，那它比较简单，你可以再把它重新再看一遍。好，然后我现在给你看的是另外两个稍微难一点点的，那你可以稍微听一下，好不好？那第一遍呢，我就不会给你播字幕，然后第二遍我再给你看字幕 ，OK？
Today, women around the globe have less access to power, wealth, and education than men. But one tiny island is leading the world in bridging these gaps. Iceland is pioneering ways to get more mothers back to work, to root out gender stereotypes, and to close the pay gap.
It's a human rights issue, isn't it? Paying the same wage for equally valuable jobs.
Could Iceland inspire the world to solve one of its greatest problems?
Equality is absolutely the key to everything.
Iceland has topped gender equality rankings for nearly a decade. One of the secrets to their success? Start early. This kindergarten in the capital, Reykjavik, focuses on challenging extreme gender stereotypes before they take root in boys and girls.
For boys, for example, always being strong, always decisive, always taking charge, they will end up bullying, fighting, breaking rules. We'll do it with the girls as well. If you're always helpful, caring, thinking about others, always looking at a friend for acceptance, you will have forgotten about yourself. We need to get away from the extreme qualities. We need to get more in the middle, all of us.
It's a mission that's led to the creation of 17 schools across this tiny country, all focused on developing a healthy balance of characteristics in both sexes. Girls and boys are separated to allow girls to nurture traits traditionally viewed as masculine, like being bold, independent, and taking risks. And boys are given time to learn traits traditionally viewed as feminine, like being more group-oriented, empathetic, and caring. And the signs are that this is working. Research suggests that in later years, children from this school have a greater understanding of gender equality when compared to children from other schools.
There is nothing like a quick fix to this huge inequality in the world. But if we all do a little bit here and there, yes, then at last we will get some result.
Iceland is also promoting gender equality by encouraging fathers to share the childcare burden with mothers. In 2000, it introduced what is known as a daddy quota, 3-month statutory paternity leave. It's an allowance that goes much further than most other countries in the world. Here, over 70% of fathers take up the full 3 months leave. Why? Because the state covers 80% of a salary during this period, up to a cap of $4,600 a month. One beneficiary of this generous system is Egil Bjarnason, who is looking after his son Vala. Egil believes the high cost of the daddy quota to taxpayers is justified because it helps get more women into work.
Imagine you're hiring someone for a new position. You had applicants from a man and a woman. You would be much less likely to take into the equation that the woman who could have a child in the future and go on a leave because the man is also going to do that. So it does create a more equal field out there.
But even in Iceland, men are still paid nearly 6% more than women for similar work. This year, Iceland became the first country in the world to pass legislation not just to expose, but to tackle the gender pay gap. Companies with over 25 employees, like Reykjavik Energy, now have to prove they are paying men and women equally for similar jobs. Every job at the company must be measured against a set of criteria. This produces a score. For jobs with the same score, workers must be paid the same. When Reykjavik Energy used this pay calculator, the inequalities came into sharp and immediate focus.
We noticed that there was a pay gap there between the unskilled workers that were outside and the unskilled workers inside. The outside unskilled workers are mainly men, and the unskilled workers inside, that's the cleaning staff, staff in the kitchen, that's mostly women. What's important to keep in mind is the gender pay gap. It's not there because there's a couple of evil men making decisions to pay women less. It's this unconscious bias that we all have. We place more value on traditionally male-dominated jobs.
The company rectified this by raising the wages of its female employees. Critics of the law point out there will be significant financial consequences for companies as they rectify their pay inequalities. But many argue this is a necessary price to pay.
It's a human rights issue, isn't it? Paying the same wage for equally valuable jobs. Having a law that requires companies to have this, it makes everyone accountable.
Gender equality will be an ever more pressing challenge for wealthy countries across the world. Could the ambitious measures being tested in Iceland provide practical solutions?
好，所以刚才那个影片是从就是 The Economist 是从一个经济学人的很有名的一个经济的杂志，它的那个影片，所以这也是你可以如果你想要再看的话，你可以自己在家再看。好，那我再给你看另外一个最后一个影片。这个应该先关掉。
Iceland is considered the world's most feminist country, with an openly lesbian former prime minister, a large female labor force, and nearly equal representation in parliament. So what is life really like for women in Iceland? Well, firstly, women make up nearly an equal amount of the labor force in Iceland as men. In fact, Iceland has ranked first on the Global Gender Gap Index since 2009. The country scores highly in areas such as political empowerment and educational attainment for women. The United States, by the way, ranks 45th. In 2016, The Economist named Iceland the best place for working women. A 2008 law defined for the first time both gender-based violence and discrimination against women in the workplace while enforcing equal job opportunity for all regardless of gender. In 2010, Iceland passed a bill establishing a quota for women on company boards, ensuring that each sex represent at least 40%. Nonetheless, Iceland has yet to close the gap on earned income and wages for similar work, where women make between 14 and 18% less overall. Some estimate this gap could take 52 years to close at the current rate. Much of this progress was prompted by a women's strike in 1975. On October 24th, 25,000 women in Iceland gathered in the capital to protest wage inequality. The strike was later titled the Women's Day Off Movement and was celebrated for the second time 30 years later on October 24th, 2005. This was again repeated in October of 2016 in protest of the same cause. The number of women in politics has grown immensely in the past few decades. In 1980, Iceland saw the world's first democratically elected woman president. At the time of her election, only 5% of MPs were women. But by 1999, their share in parliament rose to more than 1/3. Today, women represent nearly half, or 48%, of Iceland's parliament, compared to the United States' 19%. Making it the most equal parliamentary system without a quota in the world. In 2009, Iceland elected its first female prime minister and the world's first openly gay prime minister. Perhaps a heavily female contingent in politics had a hand in pushing Iceland's landmark parental leave legislation in 2000, helping women return to work more quickly after childbirth. Every parent in Iceland receives up to 3 months of leave and share an additional 3 months. And as many as 90% of fathers do take parental leave, enabling women to return to their regular working hours. Research has shown that fathers continue to share parental responsibilities with housework and childcare long after the leave is over. In Iceland, more women than men attend university and graduate school. Nearly 34% of women attain higher education degrees, more than the EU average of about 26%. And in fact, between 2002 and 2012, the number of Icelandic women receiving higher degrees increased more than the number of men. It is often said that Iceland is the best place to be a woman. In 2010, Iceland banned strip clubs with a unanimous vote, making it an offense for any company to profit from the nudity of its employees. With female leadership advocating for women's rights, political strength to tackle problems, and a vocal women's movement, it seems the country's gender equality issues aren't soon to be ignored. We can't do episodes like this without help from our sponsors. This episode was brought to you by K Jewelers. For 100 years, every kiss begins with K. Women make up half the Icelandic population, but the country's culture and practices encompass its entire population. So what exactly is life like for all Icelanders? Find out in this video. About 2/3 of its people live in or around the capital of Reykjavik, which ranks as one of the safest, cleanest, and most eco-friendly cities in the world. Thanks for watching Seeker Daily. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you get more videos every day.
好，那刚才那个没有字幕，但它其实有字幕啦，只是我没有给你们看字幕而已。但是其实我觉得你用听的，你大概可以听一些关键字，因为我们课本都已经讲过，所以它有些跟课本上是重复的东西就是内容啊，所以你可能比较能够掌握住。那他刚才一直讲到像什么 parliament 那个字就是国会、议会的意思parliament， 然后他也有讲到什么 parental， 比如说如果比如说，如果你要请 parental leave， 这个是什么？这个就是比如说爸爸妈妈你要请那种照顾小孩子的假，像我们学校老师也有啊。你们老师可能，你们老师有小孩吗？有，但他有没有请？他应该没有请，因为好像男生比较不会请。在我们学校好像都是女老师会比较容易会请这种假，比如说她生完小孩子之后，然后小孩子如果还很小，她就可能会请个1学期，或者是请那种1年的这种假。来照顾小孩，那这个就是叫做 parental leave， 就是父母亲的那个假，所以 parental leave 它刚才里面一直有讲到好，那基本上我的影片就是这3个影片，我就是给你看都看完了。那如果你还有兴趣的话，你就到 YouTube 里面去，然后你就自己搜寻我们这课的课文，它就是叫做Iceland 然后 gender equality，你打这3个字进去，就会有刚刚那些影片都会出来。那如果你有兴趣想要再看看或者再看其他影片，那 YouTube 里面都有哈。好，那我们最后一个活动啊，最后一个就是我们课本的169页，169页这边，这个本来是如果是课堂上我就会让你们讨论啦，但是我们现在因为没有在实体的上课，所以我们就大概看一下好不好？169页这边哈。所以如果你有课本的话，你可以把课本打开到169页。好，你可以看一下169页这边，好，它底下有2个题目。好，那我们可以来看一下第2题，好吧？他说 ，Have you been treated unfairly because of your gender? For example, are you expected to do more household chores at home or perform better in certain school subjects? If you are faced with such discrimination, how will you deal with it? 好，那你可以想一下这个题目。那这个题目就是你不管是男生还是女生，就是你从以前到现在啊，你有没有受过一些，比如说性别歧视啊这样子的？可能没有到那种很严重，但是可能就是言语或者是别人对你的期待，就是稍微有这么一点性别歧视的这种感觉，大家应该多多少少都有哈。好，那我给你1分钟，然后你想一下好不好？然后等一下我们就请几个同学来稍微讲一下，好，用中文讲就可以，用中文稍微回答一下就好了。第2题这个。我看一下，这样好，这个题目好吧？英语都会让你们讨论这个题目吗？还是他不会？
不会，
他不会讨论这个。那他就是上完课本，然后就上完这一课是这样。
我看一下，文法会稍微讲。
文法啊，
就是后面那个 sentence pattern 那边。
后面的 sentence pattern 就是上次我有讲的那个嘛？
对，他有时候会讲，
哦，
有时候不会。
好，
比较简单，他就不会讲。
哦，好，那我们就是看一下刚才那个题目，好吧？然后我随便问一个人哦，哈。好，9号有在吗？9号？
他应该不在吧
？9号不在。好，9号不在哈。好，那我再抽一个。好，6号有在吗？6号有没有在？6号在。陈燕是不是？是吗？好，陈燕。好，那你可不可以讲一下刚才那个第2题，就是你有没有自己有没有被性别歧视啊，或是听到性别歧视的那种经验有没有？Yes. I think this is a very traditional concept. Okay. Thank you. 所以这个其实你看，因为像我自己就是这样啊，我们家，你看我已经40了，然后你看以前40年前哦，以前我们家我妈跟我爸，我上面有2个姐姐，然后我跟我2姐差4岁，然后就是因为我那时候我爷爷奶奶就一直跟我妈还有我爸讲说，你要再生一个男的， 然后所以后来我爸妈就想说就再生，然后我上面还有一个，但那个流掉了，然后上面那个是女生，就流产流掉了。然后他们就觉得啊，3个都是女的有点烦，所以要一个流掉，然后最后就不死心，然后就还要再生，然后最后才生出我。所以就是还是会有一个很传统的想法，就是家中一定要有一个男生啦，对啊，这好像有点没办法，就是这样子。OK， 好，那我们再找一个可以吗？我再看一下。25，好，25有在吗？25应该是女生哦。好，那女生会不会比较有感觉？这个
Actually, I haven't really seen that because my grandparents, they have 3 daughters. Just my mom and my aunt, they're just I think boys and girls are just their kids.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Their gender doesn't matter. Yeah, so 就我没有经历过这些事情，就是
OK，
其实也没有很少看到。
Okay, that means you were born into a very fortunate family because their ideas were very innovative, very creative. 所以他们想法比较先进一点啦，就是不会有给太多压力这种。那你自己有没有就是因为性别，可能因为是女生，然后在生长的过程，可能学校啊或者什么有受到一些歧视啊，或者是在社会上啊，有没有？
No
没有，都没有，
对，
都没有。好 ，OK，Thank you。好，那还有人想要自愿讲的吗？其实我觉得我们台湾好像，你说要被性别歧视，好像没有到这么的严重，因为我觉得可能在越保守的国家可能越会，比如说印度啊，或者是中东国家、伊斯兰国家、塔利班那一种的啊，我觉得那种好像比较对女生会特别的打压。那台湾毕竟是一个很进步、民主、先进的国家，所以我觉得好像这方面好像还好啦。
老师，你去网络上一定会被延上
啊？什么东西？
你去网络上一定会被延上。
被延上是什么意思？
就是被骂。
哦，真的吗？
啊，网络上很多偏激的人。
哦，真的哦。啊，好可怕哦！但是我这是我的想法啦，我觉得就是有可能是这样子，但是我觉得台湾真的应该还好。对，或许跟其他的国家，我们可能跟像冰岛这种北欧的国家，可能又会比台湾再好一点。对啊，但我觉得台湾已经算是不错了。对，好，那还有没有其他问题？有没有？没有的话，我们应该6月6号就会是6月6号嘛？应该6月6号就会回去学校上课。那个时候就会是可能就会有另外一个老师来代课。好，那我们明天还有2节课，那明天的2节课我们就要做写那个大肠，就是 IV。那你们是用 IV 嘛，对不对？所以你们都有电子档。那我们明天那2节课我们就来写 IV， 好吧？然后写完可能我们再稍微的检讨一下，这样可以吗？就是明天的5、6节。好，那你看如果没有问题，我们就早点休息，好不好？上一天的课，眼睛也都应该很酸哈，所以我们就早点休息，这样可以吗？OK 吗 ？OK， 没问题，没问题。好，那我们就休息喽。好，那明天见，拜拜。
拜拜。
拜。
好，谢老师，谢老师。
拜。
再见。